It worked. Who knew?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah. Connection's good.
I know.
It's clear.
It's like a Sprint commercial. I love it.
How's it going?
Excellent. How are you doing?
Good. It's been a while.
Yeah. By excellent, I'm obviously exaggerating, but I'm okay.
Yeah.
You know.
Tell me the truth.
Yeah, it's miserable. This is the first thing I've done all month.
I'm glad.
Real reason to shower.
Yeah. So true. So true.
Know.
Are you don't have a roommate anymore. It's been a long time, right?
Just me.
Yeah.
Just more.
Do you wish you had one?
No, I'm really actually pretty glad because I think if I was with someone that wasn't a wife, I would kill them by now.
Right. Yep.
That's almost too much, and I'm an extrovert, and I'm like, no.
I'm pretty sure my wife has wanted to kill me multiple times.
Probably before you even got married.
It's possible. It's very possible.
Should ask her about that.
I'm not gonna ask her. So for everybody, this is David Cruz. Well, yeah, people are seeing it. Like,
awesome.
We're losing watchers left and right.
I know. They're like, oh, this is not what I signed up for.
So this is David Cruz, everyone, and he's been a friend of mine for at least the past, I think, 10 years.
Yeah, maybe a little more.
Yeah, and I don't think we've ever actually worked together.
You assisted me once. Oh, I was shooting in LA, and I was shooting for a bad company. What are they called? Brahmin.
Totally. Yep.
We had a great day. I mean, honestly, we hardly saw each other because we were on separate sets, switching back and forth. So that I don't know if that really counts. Like, it'd be fun to be on the same set. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did I was trying to think if we ever did a show together. If I ever did one of your shows. But...
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. I kind of dropped out. I shouldn't say dropped out, but I haven't really pursued fashion shows seriously for the last few seasons. I did a couple because cool designers that I really liked approached me and asked if I would be interested, or makeup artists recommended me to people.
Sure.
But I haven't pursued it just because I got a little disillusioned, not to whatever, but I felt like, man, I'm just hauling myself all over the city just to give everybody the same ponytail. Like, it was starting to get a little, you know? Yeah, so it was a little bit like, I wasn't into it.
It's rough. That show circuit's rough. I wanted to, somebody misses your face. Or my face. I don't know which one.
Oh, Massimo. He's excellent. An excellent Italian hairdresser and very nice guy.
Awesome. Good to know.
Yeah.
So just for anybody watching, give us like a little history here. Like, where'd you grow up? How did this all come about?
Okay. Yeah. Quick breakdown for the next 2 hours.
Not too quick.
I was born in New York, raised partly here. And when I was around 10, we moved to North Carolina, where my uncle had lived. And we used to visit summers, go down there. And my dad loved it. My dad was stationed there in the military. And he thought that that would be a nice place to raise a family. And it was. It turned out it was great. So I lived there my teen years and then moved to New York in my 20s. And that's, you know, of course, because North Carolina is now it's amazing. But, you know, when I was coming up in the town that I was living in, it was tiny and there was nothing to do.
Right.
You know, so you'd rather be like in New York or LA or whatever, you know. Yeah. Especially when I realized that this is what I was doing. That's when I was like, okay, I have to be in New York for this.
So what caught your eye about hair?
I kind of fell into it. I was really, it was something that someone else recommended to me, you know? To call myself an artist is a big stretch. I'd have to limber up a lot before that. But I did a lot of artistic things. I drew and painted a lot. I played music. I still play music. But, and my dad was an artist. He painted beautifully. And so that was always around. My little brother is a musician and he's excellent. So my family's always had that sensibility. And so someone that I knew could see that in me and was like, oh, you probably do really good at hair. And it never occurred to me. I never in a million years would have thought about it. But once he started to show me how to do stuff, and initially he taught me barbering before I went into hairdressing. And it was like a duck to water. Like I just immediately was like, this is right up my alley.
Right.
Plus, my personality, it really worked because I'm obviously a bit of a showboat, so this worked out really great for me.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So once you kind of got your hands in hair, you got your basic training and stuff like that. How did you kind of pivot that into the scene you're at now, the fashion scene and education and stuff?
Yeah, that was a series of happy accidents. My career, it could be like until like falling down a flight of stairs and then landing in a much nicer room and being like, this is, I'll stay here. This is better.
Yeah.
You know? I was obsessed with being really good at styling because I was so bad at it. I was a good hair cutter, but I was a very bad stylist. I couldn't figure it out.
Hmm.
So I ended up going for the best salons in the city to try and learn from what I thought would be the best hairdressers.
Okay.
And I learned, got on the floor, did
So
well, and
you
then
actually apprenticed with multiple salons? Yeah.
I did. I apprenticed with multiple salons, and the last one I felt like was the most successful for me was the John Barrett salon, which at the time was at the Bergdorf Goodman store in Manhattan. So it was like this super chic, all these uptown ladies, plenty of money flying around.
Hmm.
I mean, this was in the 90s, and I was getting $150 for a blowout, which was crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy now, but
Right.
it was really crazy back then.
Totally.
But and they were amazing. Everybody that worked there was wonderful. I learned a lot, and they were all very structured and good hairdressers. I just grew bored with it. It became monotonous because I was giving the same five haircuts all the time, and I wasn't, and I needed the inspiration,
Were they training you in classic hairstyling? Was there pins and, roller
Very
sets and
classic.
all that? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, at the time, there was definitely a move. They were trying to go for a younger, cooler aesthetic, which was fine, but the approach was very classic. Everything was pins and roller sets and proper sectioning, and I was taught very, very classic hairdressing, which has served me to this day. Because no
Yeah,
matter
absolutely.
how crazy you want to get, the basics will always get you there, you know?
Nice.
Yeah, yeah. So I really strongly encourage all my assistants to learn, not to rush. Take your time and really study the classics, the basics. You know what I mean? Like old, not just Vidal Sassoon hairdressing, but old Bruno de Sange hairdressing as well.
Hmm.
That those standards will serve you for the rest of your career.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Very
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
Um, all right. So you're at the salon.
Right.
Things
I'm
are
at the
going good.
salon.
You're making some money.
I am making money, and I should have been really happy.
Why
But I
is your
was young.
haircut so tight, by the way?
I just did it
Why?
myself.
Okay.
Um,
Did you?
I was bored. I did do it myself. I know. I love you. Like, did you go to a barber? No, I didn't. And I will
Somebody
not
made
show you.
money. Who was it?
I will not show you the back because God only knows what's happening back there.
Yep.
You know what I mean? I'm growing like a Joe Dirt rat tail or whatever. But no. But I was at the salon and I should have been thrilled with where I was and it was good. I just wish that I had taken my time and then got to that point later in my life and I would have been
Right.
fine with it. But it wasn't exciting to me. And Denise, no, don't cut your own bangs. But I do love you and you're beautiful. Just don't worry about it. You'll be fine.
I'm gonna say, yeah, cut your own bangs. Do it.
um,
We're
yeah,
like the
so
angel and the
yeah,
devil.
totally. Yeah, totally. He's got the horns and I'm like
Mhm.
with the halo.
Do it.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, so what happened was there was a woman in oh, what was her name? I feel really terrible. Her last name was Perez. Really lovely woman. Oh, I'm trying to think for the life of me. I'm sorry, it'll come to me later.
She really
But
had an impact.
well, she did, sadly. I just have a terrible memory. I'm not the nicest person. But she was working with Orlando Pita at the time.
Okay.
And this was the late 90s. So he was doing everything, everything.
Hmm.
And everyone was trying to like schmooze up to her. And she had a friend who is a really lovely man and a really good hairdresser by the name of Marcelino. And he was doing a small fashion show that no one had heard of. And she said, look, he needs help. Can anybody help out? And it was like on a Tuesday morning, and you had to be there at 6 a.m. And everyone in the salon was like, no. And I was like so busting at the seams to do something different that I was like, yes. absolutely. She goes, it doesn't pay. And I was like, I don't care. I
Hmm.
just need the inspiration, you know?
Right.
And when I went and worked with him, it hit me like a ton of bricks. I'm like, this is what I'm supposed to be doing.
Cool.
This is what my career should be. And he was best friends with Orlando. Nobody knew that. They had grown up together.
Hmm.
And so he brought me over to Michael Kors. When we finished that show, he brought me over to the Michael Kors show. And Orlando was there, and he introduced me to him. And the timing, it was so flawless. I could never have planned it in a million years. Orlando's assistant had just left, and he was looking for a new person. And Marcelino brought me in and introduced me, and we vibed. We really hit it off, and he liked my way, my sensibility. He liked the way I did hair. So I assisted him for the first 3 days just to see. I assisted him that morning, and he says, "Hey, can you come with me later?" I was like, "Yeah." And we went to the Tommy Hilfiger show that night. He was doing that, and Tommy was one of my personal clients. So I cut his hair and the family and everybody. So when I walked in, Tommy runs up and he goes, "Oh my God, I love that you two have found each other. This is great, blah, blah, blah." So it was a very cool, just a really one of those moments that comes together perfectly, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. That's
Yeah,
amazing.
it was
I don't
really,
know
really
if I
cool.
realized that. Did you become his first assistant?
Yeah,
You did.
yeah,
How long
yeah.
did that go for?
That was a little over 2 years. Yeah,
Mm.
and it was good. It was awesome. That was another thing that I felt like was an incredible. That really is probably the best education I've ever had when it comes to work because by then I was already a pretty good hairdresser,
Hmm.
but that was like going to Harvard for hair, you know?
That's
Like
great.
yeah,
Yeah.
like learning from someone who was that wildly talented,
Yeah.
had no classical training. So
Hmm.
some things that he would do were like mind blowing. Like some things you were like, that is incredible.
So
And
it
then
was
other,
never like, oh, this guy doesn't know what he's doing. He always found the best way to do what he was trying to do.
he always found his way to do things. So
Hmm.
some things
Okay.
that he did really were amazing, like lightning bolt, like incredible. Just I can't believe I never thought of that moves. And other things were like, that was a really long ass way to get to where we wanted to be. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like other things we were like, it's actually a lot simpler if you do it this old way. But
Right.
it was the way that he was comfortable doing things. And all of it was the way his mind worked. And that's what was fascinating was learning how to figure out how his mind worked. You know what I mean?
So if you could encapsulate what he taught you in those 2 years that you worked with him into like a structure, what would it look like?
Oh wow. That's tough because I would have to break them into two different things. One is hairdressing and the other is handling clients.
Mm,
And I feel
cool.
like he taught me more about handling clients than he even did about hairdressing. And I learned a lot
Okay.
from him about hairdressing.
Yeah.
He did moves that I see people still doing today. You know that wave that everyone does where they alternate?
Hmm.
He was for sure the first hairdresser that I ever saw do that. And I saw him do that in the late 90s. Nobody was doing that then.
Right.
You
With
know,
with a curling iron?
with an iron and
Yeah.
just alternating the curve. And that seems everybody does that now and it's not a big deal. But back then, I remember feeling like my brain was going to pop out of my nose. I'd never seen that before.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
So so obviously he taught you, was there
Anytime.
anything technique wise where it was completely left field that you still use today?
Oh, that is interesting. Um,
I'm very
Technique
interested.
wise, no, I do like that. No, I do. I'm a big, you know what's funny is I am obsessed with how people prep hair.
Hmm.
Prepping to me, I am obsessed with it. And I only get that way because Orlando is the only major, like huge talent that I assisted. And so I have assistants that work with other good hairdressers, and I always am like, how do they prep the hair? Like
Hmm.
what's their process? You know?
Right. Right.
So that's what fascinates me. Orlando was the first person to teach me. The thing that affected me the most was I wasn't afraid to dive in and do it. I wasn't afraid to use a lot of product because I was
Hmm.
always hesitant to go too heavy. You know, I was afraid of it. And
Totally.
Orlando was like, no, it's okay to layer it on. When you have well made, when you know you're using well made good stuff, it's not going to be too much. You could soak it from root to tip, blow it out, and the only thing it'll give you is a great texture. You know, so with good product, it's like that. and that taught me that. He taught me a lot about that, understanding, like being able to feel the hair and understand what it will do naturally and what I have to make it do.
What
You
kind
know,
of product was he using at the time?
at the
Do
time we were working with Bumble and Bumble. Oh
Okay.
wait, yes, we were working with Bumble and Bumble. I used to go all the time. I saw that you interviewed this guy the other day. What is wrong with my brain?
Howard?
You just yes,
Yeah.
and I would see him all the time. He was a really cool guy. But like I would go by and pick up stuff all the time, and they were always like, "This is like a second home to you," and I'd be like, "Thanks," like just they were very sweet. But I would walk
Yeah.
in, they'd hand me a basket, I'd take whatever I want off the shelves, go drop it off, pick or meet Orlando at the studio, and we'd be stocked with stuff.
Cool.
So it was Bumble first, and then we worked with Kiehl's. If I'm hope I'm not mixing those two up, but we worked with Kiehl's
We'll
for a
never
while
know.
too.
Yeah.
I don't never remember. But yeah, yeah. So
Cool.
that was a really fortunate turn of events, like working with him. And it was like 3 days later, I said, after I first met him, after the Tommy meeting, and it was very funny. We're
Right.
in a car and we're driving to another show. And he just said, he goes, "Hey, I like how you do hair. I like how you are with the girls." He goes, "And I need a full-time assistant. Are you interested?" And I said, "Yeah." And he
Mhm.
goes, "Okay, I'm going to put you on the phone with my agent in Paris and we leave for Milan in a week. Is that cool?" And I'm like, "I'm in." And it
Mhm.
was an amazing whirlwind time. It was awesome.
How did you, well, before I ask this, I gotta write it down. Um, what did he teach you about handling clients?
It was more watching.
Okay.
I because at the time, like I said, he was doing everything. So he's interacting with. I shouldn't say handling because it makes it sound like Joe Exotic with his tigers or something. But like it's more, you know. But it's more of watching him interact with Tom Ford and then Donatella Versace and
Right.
then Miuccia Prada because he was doing all the shows at the same time.
Mhm.
And there were times when some designers did not really want him working with the others.
Right.
And the word would come through like these back channels how. And so managing clients that want you exclusively and
Hmm.
watching him handle that was incredible. And watching him handle these incredible personalities and these very powerful, very smart people, and just knowing when to say yes and how to guide clients away from bad ideas. That is invaluable. That was incredible because that
Hmm.
happens all the time.
Sure.
You know, yeah, you
Yeah.
have clients now. Most clients have pretty good taste, but for a while there, you would get some clients who would ask you for some scary stuff, and you're like, I don't like to use the word no with my clients
Hmm.
almost ever. I feel like if I can walk them to another idea that's better for them,
Sure.
cool. But there are times where sometimes you just have to show them that it doesn't work, that what they're thinking doesn't look the way they think it's going to look.
Right.
So you just have to do it and then present it to them, and then they're like, "Oh," and I'm like, "Yeah, no, it's okay, but we can do this instead." You know?
Orlando, yeah, at that point that you were working with him was already kind of legendary. And sometimes when you're that person, people will listen to you a bit more
Yeah,
because they know you know what you're doing. But if it's a client for you who's newer,
yeah.
that's a little more difficult. How do you handle that?
That's hard. Honestly, I have a whole slew of stories of me hilariously screwing that up because that is threading a needle. That's a very
Mhm.
delicate because you have to take into consideration, are we talking about, say, a perfect example, if I'm working with Club Monaco and they want a type of hair texture or style that I think it doesn't really look that great. But usually with a big company, I'll just give them what they want and don't fight. If I'm working with an actress, say, and I know that she can pull a look off, or I know
Mhm.
that these small changes can take her look from kind of basic to being kind of special, then sometimes I'll push to see if I can get it. But I never do anything that no one wants.
Right.
But sometimes I have this one um, story where I worked with that actress from Felicity. I can't remember her name. She was in The Americans. Very pretty woman. The mom,
Carrie,
Kerry
Carrie
Russell.
Russell. Yeah.
Yes, gorgeous, super super nice. Could not be more lovely. She was a wonderful, wonderful person. And so her makeup artist was a good friend of mine and is a good friend of mine. And she asked me if I would, like, there was an opening and the regular hairdresser couldn't do it. So she goes, "Hey, look, this is her chance to, you're a better hairdresser. Can you take her to and try something else?"
No
So I said,
pressure.
"Sure." So, yeah, exactly. And I think we were doing like a TV show like Jimmy Fallon or something. I can't remember what it was. But I go back there and I had never met her in person before, and she is stunning. She's
Hmm.
so beautiful. And I saw her outfit and I saw what she was thinking and I saw the makeup and I was like, immediately remembered this Gucci show from like the early 2000s, but they had a really cool hairdo that I thought a variation of this would look amazing with that dress and with her everything.
Hmm.
And it was such a stark removal from what she was used to doing. And it didn't occur to me that she had once lost a television show because they cut her hair off. Remember that? Like in the 90s, she had a lot of hair.
Yeah,
They cut the hair
totally.
short, and then Felicity took a dive.
Hmm.
And I wasn't taking into consideration, you know, her own,
Trauma.
her past. Yeah, her own
Yeah.
trauma, her own hair
Hmm.
trauma. And so I was like, would you be willing to try this? And she's like, that's a little outside my comfort zone, but okay, I'll trust you.
You're just
And
styling,
she,
right?
I'm just
Or
styling,
were
and it's my
okay.
first time.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
but
Okay.
it's my first time working with her.
Hmm.
So I'm coming in guns blazing, like I'm gonna do a whole new thing, which is a terrible idea.
Hmm.
So not initially, like work your way to it, earn the trust.
Sure.
So I did it, and it looked awesome. And I could see the makeup artist was in the corner where she couldn't see her, and the makeup artist was like, "Yes, this is what I
Nice.
wanted."
Yeah.
But Carrie was like, "No, I feel it's a little too strong for me." And I was like, "No problem. I'll take it down, and I'll do what you normally do." And I did.
Hmm.
But I could tell that going for it too fast, being too aggressive about what I wanted,
Hmm.
was a little off-putting. So I haven't seen her since. But it happens.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it
Sure.
happens. I
That's
have a whole bunch of stories like that. But it's fine.
it's kind of just a thing you have to learn on the job, you know?
It is. It
It's
is. And I was so much younger then. Like now I would be a lot more chill and smooth and work my way into winning the trust and then trying new things. And,
sure.
once they know that they can feel safe in my hands, because a lot of times when you're younger and you're convinced that you know what's right, you just
Hmm.
go in, like I said, guns blazing without really thinking about other people's perspectives at all.
Sure.
You know? Yeah.
Um, Beautiful. So how did you and or why did you decide to leave Orlando?
Oh no, I was dropped. I
Okay.
was, yeah, I don't I'm trying to think of it because it wasn't fired. I felt bad. No one actually fired me, but I called his assistant one. I could tell well, this is a little, I could tell I messed him up. And I was also, or made him mad, but I also was a little arrogant, I
Okay.
guess, or I got a little too big for my britches, I guess you could call
Hmm.
it. And I could tell that I was stepping on some toes, but I kind of didn't care, which is, again, so not like me now.
Wait,
But
does that mean that maybe on set you were throwing your weight around too much or on the
no, no,
shoot?
no, no. Just with, um, not really, but more like in small things. He was very much a low key guy, very, very, so everything was subtle. There were no big whatevers, but I could always tell when I was doing something that maybe wasn't even love. I'm trying to think of this way, a good way to put it. I was just too confident. And
Yeah.
it's okay to be confident, but you have to remember when you're an assistant, it's not about you. It's about who you're assisting, you know? And there were a few moments where I made it a little too much about me. So, yeah.
And but the flip side of that is simultaneously you're developing your own style.
Yeah.
So it may work, assisting somebody is only going to work for as long as it works for you. If it
Yes.
was something that was very important for you to keep going with, you would have,
Yeah.
but you
Totally.
were coming into your own. So,
Yeah. But there's a way to do it too. You know what I
mhm,
mean? And I didn't do it the right way. That's how come I'm always really, I try to be good about explaining to my assistants the exercising patience because I wish I had been more patient. Because there are the only two big regrets that I have in my career. was that I only assisted him as opposed to I had the opportunity. I was good friends with the agent that handled Eugene around the same time, and not trying to get on Eugene's team, which I think I could have worked out back then.
Hmm.
That would have been incredible because for me, he is still
Yeah.
like his work is just ridiculous. Like I look at it and it's a mix, like a blend of like adoration and rage and jealousy because it's so good.
So
You
good.
know,
Yeah.
it's so good and in the best way possible.
And he's
And
he's super nice. He's
he's
so approachable
the
and
nicest
yeah,
guy you've
doesn't
ever
make
met.
sense.
I only met him once. It was very funny. I was shooting at Pier 59, and this is when I was brand new on my own, and I was doing an advertising job for like denim or something. And I stepped out to get a coffee, and just at the same time, Pat McGrath had stepped out of their studio,
Hmm.
and we see each other, and I hadn't seen her since like Paris the season before or something. And she goes, David, oh my God, hi. And we were like talking for like 5 minutes. And she goes, come here, I want to introduce you to somebody. And because I think she knew that I was a big Eugene fan. So
Hmm.
she brought me into the studio, introduced me to him. Such a cool dude. We just talked for a little bit. He was really gracious, really lovely. And it was very funny because I find that I often have that experience with hairdressers and I rarely get to meet them. But usually when I do, it's always like I would totally have a drink with this dude. Like I would hang out with this person, you
Right.
know? So I feel like that was it was nice to because I'd heard what a good guy he was. So it
Hmm.
was nice to meet someone and be like, yeah, he's as nice as I was told, you know? And I just was like, you're amazing. And he was really gracious and quiet about it. It was cool.
It's crazy too because
Hey.
it almost seems justified in our industry that if you're that big of a name, that you have a right to not be a nice person. So,
Almost, yeah.
so people can just like whatever. It's kind of the industry too.
Yeah.
People can be that, but when you meet somebody who's not, and I think more often than not, I meet people who are super nice and gracious rather
Yeah,
than the
totally.
opposite side of that. It's really cool. It's really
It
cool.
is really cool. It
It's a
is.
lot
And
better than. Sorry, go ahead.
no, no, please, what are you going to say?
I was gonna say it's better than a lot of times meeting your favorite musician who can often disappoint you
That's
real
true.
hard.
You're like, oh, what a jerk.
Yeah.
Which I've had that too. But
Hmm.
like with hairdressers, usually, honestly, photographers, this business, I think 2 decades ago or so, more. I would say more, maybe like 3 decades ago. It was full of people who could be jerks and throw their weight around. And I caught the tail end of that. I've seen that. I've been on set with that. I've worked with photographers that I saw screaming at their assistants and stuff. And it was just awful. But that is one of the good things that has changed. There have been a lot of things that I bemoan about the business that I'm not into now. But I love that it has weeded out jerks. Like there just aren't those kinds of people anymore. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, yeah, Massimo was right. 20 years ago, it was different. It's
Right.
true, though. It
Yeah.
was different. Like now, um, I can honestly say, and this is no exaggeration, that I genuinely enjoy almost every job I go on. Like every time I get a call
So cool.
sheet,
Hmm.
I'm happy to see the names on it. You know what I
Nice.
mean? There's a few like photographers and makeup artists and models and art directors and all that I'm friends with that I'm eager to see. And I'm like, oh, this is going to be fun, you know?
Hmm.
So this is, it's really cool. It's a cool position to be in, but it's also at the time now, there are enough really, really talented people that are genuinely nice that no one has to put up with that. It's
Totally.
not, yeah,
And
yeah,
what Ivan just said, I was thinking that it's like he said the pool of talent's too big now to have an audience
right,
attitude.
yes,
It's like nobody's untouchable anymore because you can be whoever with like a strong Instagram following.
yes,
If you're talented, you're gonna be right beside somebody else oftentimes.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Man, you're getting some good comments,
yeah. People are in
compliments.
it.
Yeah, yeah, it's
Oh,
awesome.
see, I'm telling you, that guy's great.
That's cool. Um,
Yeah.
so, all right, so you left Orlando, and then you're on
Hmm.
your own, of course. Did that come with going out and like finding an agency, or were you able to find some work without that process for a while?
That was a blend. I actually got an agent before I left Orlando. My first agent I got was uh, it was an agency called De Facto, which still exists, and Nice is the owner and the photo agent there, and he still runs it. And he runs it's an amazing setup he's got there. If you get the chance to check them out, they have some really solid photographers, and they do super cool work.
Cool.
So since I was at that agency and those people were it was a super artsy agency. So I was doing like V and Arena Un Plus and all these like really, really cool magazines, all these foreign Vogues and stuff.
Hmm.
So out of the gate, my book looked incredible. I was doing gorgeous, gorgeous stuff. And I just didn't have two pennies to rub together. So I was like, it's great that my book looks amazing, but I got to make some money.
Yeah.
And they were pretty good at helping like with that kind of thing. But like I needed to go with an agency where that kind of money stuff was flowing. And I think I did a bit of an overcorrect and went to a very commercial agency after that. And I found that I spent a couple of years of my career readjusting so that I could have a nice balance
Mm.
between making my money, doing great,
Right.
being satisfied with that, and then still scratching that creative itch every now and then, because if I don't do creative things, I get irritable. But
Right.
if I don't make my money, I'm livid.
Hmm.
you know?
Gotta have both there.
So you gotta have both. And that's not always easy to figure out because when it's going good, it's going really good. And you have to make time for the creative.
Yeah.
Because that's what keeps the juices flowing. That's what keeps you moving forward and keeps you up to date with what's happening and
Hmm.
ahead of the curve, really.
So who are you with now?
I'm with Tracy Mattingly in
How's that?
LA. They're here in New York too. I love them actually.
Yeah.
It's been a really good move for me because now I've been so just doing my regular, like I shoot tons for like Victoria's Secret and stuff like that. So I'm was doing just doing that stuff and I love it and I don't want to stop doing that, but I wanted to add more celebrity into my mix,
Mm. Okay.
and I was having a hard time I would shoot. It wasn't uncommon for me to shoot with a really cool celebrity for a cool magazine, but I wanted to be with an agency that was good at maintaining those relationships.
Sure.
So, like, I would shoot like a beautiful actress for like W or Vogue or Allure or whatever, and then it would go really well. But I needed an agent who knew the ins over at like not just the publicists, but also the people at Sony and like it's an entirely separate business.
Yep. For sure.
It's not. And so I just wanted somebody who could speak that language too, and they've worked out really well for me. My agent Dave is really great.
That's awesome. Dave's in LA. Or
He
is
actually is my agent here in New York, but like he handles me everywhere. Tracy
Yeah.
handles me out in LA.
Cool. That's
Yeah,
cool. Um,
yeah.
so with that kind of agency that's got such a firm foot planted in celebrity,
Mhm.
are you able to scratch that itch, the creative itch?
Yeah, what's funny is I've built up enough, well, not enough, because it's always a constant. It's
Hmm.
constant. I feel like I do a relatively good job of staying in touch with cool photographers that are doing cool things,
Right.
And I find that if you're good at what you do, you make it a nice day for everyone, and you're not too much of a pain in the butt to deal with,
Hmm.
that those people in those circles will recommend you amongst their friends. So I would be shooting with one cool young female photographer, but they all know each other, so they ended up recommending me to all their friends.
Cool.
And so I ended up shooting a ton of cool stuff with them. And then also same thing with actresses. I'll shoot with one actress, and this happened to me recently, who her name is Karen Gillan. She's in the Avengers movies,
Hmm.
and she recommended me to a friend of hers that has a new TV show on NBC, and and I wondered when I got the call, I was like, man, I wonder how this woman knows me because she requested me personally. And I show up and she goes, oh, Karen and I were having, breakfast together last week. And she was like, I only know one hairdresser in New York, David Cruz, but he's nice. You should try him. So
Hmm.
it's like, I find that most of that happens through people just saying he's good and he's nice. And,
Right.
you know, I feel
Yeah.
like that is what helps. And then if there's anything specifically that I really want, I have no qualms about going for it. Whether it's asking my agent to make the moves or just reaching out myself personally if it's someone that I feel like I could comfortably do that with, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You being, I mean, you're established as a hairdresser. Like you've got
Yeah.
everything going. It's where you want to be.
Thanks.
If you want that weird hair, if you want to go do something that's really, you know, fashion forward or something in that realm, are you beyond setting it up yourself? Will you still go down that road to
No, I actually, that kind of stuff I still have to try and set up for myself
yeah.
because even now, um, some of the editorial that I still end up getting. I mean, you have to be considerate, I guess, of the people that you work with too. But even now, sometimes you'll have people who will reach out and they'll go, "We're shooting the story. Let me send you a mood board of what we're thinking." And a lot of times it's that nothing
Yeah.
hair.
Right.
But if it's a magazine that's cool or people I want to work with, then I'll do it.
Yeah.
But if I want to do something crazy, I have to make.
Totally.
I feel like I have to make the calls. I have to
Yeah.
do the pushing because then at least people know what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
If I roll in and just start doing insane stuff, and they're like, "I didn't know this is what we were doing,"
Yeah.
you know. Except if occasionally you luck out and you get. I did a shoot with Thomas Friedman for T Magazine, the New York Times magazine, and it's really beautiful. And they were doing a story about club kids, like
Mm-hmm.
New York club kids from the '80s. And they had real club kids come in, but then they had a couple of models that me and the makeup artist did where we got to just go off and do cool hairdos, and she got to
Yeah.
do crazy makeup, and oh my god, that was a blast. You know what I mean?
That's
Because then I felt like I'm in my element now, you know.
right.
So when those moments come in, I totally like zero in on it and enjoy it. You know.
Yeah, it seems like you know, I was talking with Gary Gill the other day, and he seems to
Mm.
like he's got projects that he will kind of facilitate himself. Somebody ends up picking it up, you know. Uh, it gets pretty out there. It's really cool,
Yeah.
you know, but I don't know that that's necessarily going to be your moneymaker overall. So
It's not.
yeah.
That's purely a personal, and that's how come I'll reach out to people that I know will be into it. And
Mm-hmm.
we try and get a model that is like, oh yeah, I'm down for that. You know what I mean?
Totally.
Usually it's those girls, I mean, I don't know how else to put it, but girls who are a little more avant-garde and know that that's their look are cool with it and they'll just
Totally.
roll with it.
Right.
Yeah, because they're like, it's not going to look any weirder than anything else they have,
Yeah.
you know, in their books. So, yeah. But there's people that love that stuff. And especially those of us who've been doing it a long time and came from a time where that was the norm. You were just going out, you know, you were always going out on a limb with your looks.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes you just kind of want to have one of those days, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah, there's enough of us around here still that want to do that stuff. So we reach out to each other, you know?
Totally. Is there
Yeah.
anything that you've always wanted to do but haven't done yet? That's such a
Ooh.
generic question, but
No, that actually, it's a very solid question. This is obviously, I don't know that this will ever happen for me, but the cover of French Vogue. If I get the cover of French Vogue, I'll feel good.
why French Vogue? You did Italian Vogue. Yeah.
Yes, and I love Italian Vogue. And I'm not saying reaching Italian Vogue was an absolute personal milestone. Like I
Definitely.
literally, if I could do a backflip, I would have done. I'm glad I didn't because I would have hurt myself. But if I could
Yeah.
physically achieve a backflip, I would have done it.
Yeah.
But and so that's why, because I did it. I've shot a couple of stories for them, which I'm very very proud of, and are very beautiful and are very much my aesthetic. So it was really fun. But I just have never done anything for French Vogue, and it's French and Italian and American Vogue and British Vogue were all always like, you know,
Mhm.
for me. British Vogue, same. I love what Edward is doing with it now. It looks amazing, you know, and
Yeah.
so it's very cool. So Edward, if you're listening, if you want a Latino hairdresser for your cover,
It's time. It's time.
so past time. So
It's time
past
for
time.
Puerto Rico to shine.
It is.
We're gonna get
I
there.
love it. God, I
Um,
hope he doesn't see that.
I kind of hope he does.
So funny.
Very cool. So you got a lot going on. If you were going to talk to somebody who's trying to get to where you're at, especially with that building of the foundation, you know, where
Yeah.
would you tell them to go?
Wow, that's a good question. Honestly, I would tell them to do their research first. When I was in beauty school, before I even came to New York to do, because I went to beauty school in North Carolina,
Hmm.
imagine that.
Mm.
It's everybody's teased to death, you know?
Yeah.
But I would say do your research first, because even in beauty school, I remember looking through Harper's Bazaars and Vogues and stuff, and just looking to see who did the hair,
Hmm.
because you know the name and the credits. And there were a couple of hairdressers that I really liked, and Orlando was one of them, which was why it was so cool when I met him, because he was someone whose name I had seen in the bylines.
Right.
It was Michelle Aleman, who has since retired, but was amazing.
Right.
Serge Norman was another one
Hmm.
that I just followed religiously. And so find out who you like. And then honestly, these days it's so much easier. You can just DM people.
Yep.
And a lot of these guys answer their DMs. I've gotten a few really good assistants because they DM'd me and just offered to come work with me on shoots and stuff.
Sure.
You know? Yeah.
Yeah.
And if they don't sound crazy, I'm like, yeah, sure, I'll put you in touch with my agent. And if something comes up, then we reach out. And if they're free, then they come. Yeah.
Cool.
But
Cool.
it's worked out well.
Yeah.
You know, so I feel like now that is what I would tell someone young now. But I would highly recommend, just like I did in the beginning, that you really focus on developing your skill sets. You know what I mean? Really, really focus on learning proper hairdressing,
Hmm.
because that stuff looks old school and it may feel like it's not relevant now, but it is. It's like learning your ABCs. And if you how can someone be a writer or a poet if you don't know your ABCs?
Hmm.
That's basically like you can't be a great hairdresser if you don't know some basics.
Right.
You
Right.
have to, you know.
And I feel like that is still
Hey,
missing
Jenna.
on a wide scale is that curriculum,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
that's why, I mentioned it in the blurb with your photos today, but we're going to have you help us with the editorial curriculum so people can access that,
That would be
regularly.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd be down for that. I really feel like not that that's missing now by any stretch. I feel like honestly, the this crop of young assistants that I have now are very hardworking, and to they do want to learn, and they do want to learn the right way, which is great. I feel like there's a return to wanting to be really genuine professionals at what they do, really good at it, which is
Right.
fantastic. Because
Yeah.
there was a stint where everybody wanted to be a rock star and nobody wanted to work.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like I had all these assistants who were like, I think at the first, when Instagram first came in, people were too busy taking selfies and doing their thing and not really working,
Hmm.
and didn't care to learn. They just wanted to immediately be the person.
Right.
Um, but now I feel like it's very different. Like now these kids understand that they need to know what they're doing before they get there.
Sure.
You know?
Yep.
Yeah. So I feel like because so many people have become social media famous, but it hasn't really done much for them. You
Hmm.
know?
So
Yeah.
where do the
So
kids go to find these skill sets?
they're the ones. Okay. So honestly, a lot of them that I've met through these classes that I teach.
Hmm.
You know, and they'll reach out to me personally and then learn how to. Will come and assist me on jobs. But they're very, very interested in learning, like I said, the basic skill sets, which is really
Yeah.
solid.
Right.
Yeah. But I have to say now, I feel like get it. If you're not working at a regular salon, which I feel like most hairdressers are, because that's just how you got to make your money,
Hmm.
do your research wherever you live, because you don't have to. I feel like I'm getting ahead of myself. You don't have to live in New York or LA to be able to do great hair anymore.
Hmm.
You can live anywhere now. And you can learn so much just on YouTube.
Hmm.
If you have, if you've gone to school, if you have the physical know-how and you don't know how to do a next level look, there are some incredible YouTube videos that show you stuff. I had this situation a few years back. I was doing a show for this designer called, oh my goodness, I can't remember the name of the designer. If I remember, I'll let you know. She's a little crazy, but she was really good. And I'm in the taxi on the way to the show, and
Hmm.
she messages me as we're going. We had already done the looks, we had already done everything, I had already prepped my team, sent them pictures of what I was doing.
Right.
On the way, she calls me and she goes, I've changed my mind. I want everyone to have finger waves now. And finger waves is a thing.
Yeah.
It's a thing, you know? And so I was like, oh, you gotta be kidding me. And not only just the models, but she was having opera singers. It was a pretty amazing show. But she had these opera singers that were going to be performing within the audience, standing up and singing and like doing different things. It was a big performance art piece too, apparently. And she wanted them to have finger waves too. So I had my standard like 20 something models and then an additional like 6 or 7 opera singers that I had to do their hair for. So I'm like in the car having a little bit of a meltdown and I just go, well, let me see on YouTube if there's a good video for it. And I found an amazing video for it. I sent it out to all my assistants and then I asked them, I was like, be honest with me. If you're not comfortable doing finger waves, just let me know. I'll have you assist someone who is. And then this way we can move faster.
Right.
And everyone was great on board. There were 2 or 3 people who were really good at banging them out. And to be honest with you, the first one I did was a little janky. Like I was like, because I hadn't done it in a minute, you know?
Yeah.
And so I was like, let me redo this. And then once your fingers warm up, then you get good, you know? And then we did it and we did fine. But a YouTube video saved me. Because by then they'd already had it in their heads. So when I did it in front of them and showed them, do this, they were already in a good space. You know what I mean? So I have to say, for a lot of young artists now, you have a wealth of information at your fingertips. You know what I mean? If you're fortunate enough to go to New York or London or Paris or whatever and work for someone who is amazing, or LA, and assist someone, by all means do that.
Sure.
But if, say, you're living in Indiana and you've got a family and you can't, that's not really an option, you're not cut off. There's a lot that's accessible to you. There's a lot that's available. Yeah.
Yeah. And people like you that are out there, I mean, they really can. I mean, they can DM you, and it's possible to get back. You know, it's such a cool thing. How has working with Kevin Murphy been?
Amazing. Yeah. Amazing. They're really cool. I have to say, Kevin himself is a super nice guy. When I first got introduced to them, it was through my prior agent. It was really awesome. This lovely woman named Leslie was representing me at Grad Kramer and Kramer was the name of the agency, and she's a doll. I adore her. She's a really wonderful person, and she told me, and I had already had a bunch of Australian hair models that I worked with tell me how much they loved Kevin Murphy shampoo and how they used it, and I had never seen it because he doesn't have it in like, you know, Ulta or Sephora, so I just didn't see it anywhere. But they would bring it to set with them and they would show me. And I was like, this stuff looks good. So she goes, you know, she goes, I know someone at Kevin Murphy. She goes, and I feel like personality-wise and work-wise, you would fit well with them. So she goes, I'm going to set up a meeting. So I flew out to LA. Kevin was in LA for work. So we ended up meeting, and we got on like a house on fire. He's a really, really nice guy. And it's cool because he was where I am like 20 years ago. You know what I mean? Like he had done it. He was a freelance artist. And that was how he got a start. And so the way I approach hair is very similar to the way he approaches hair. So we immediately got on very well. And every time he showed me a product, I would immediately use it basically the same way that he would use it. And it was very funny, just a cool, and also the whole team of artists. That guy Massimo that was saying hi earlier, he's one of their session people for Europe. And they have a really nice educational team. They've been super welcoming and helpful to me. And so they use me to do these like these classes that I teach. So these 2-day, super immersive, hands-on shoot classes where I walk you through, you know, doing your own photo shoot. You know, and I teach people how to properly produce a photo shoot for themselves. You know, but it's also great because we hire great models, we have a great wardrobe, we have makeup, we have a good photographer in the studio. And when you think about how much it would cost for someone to do that themselves, it'd be a fortune.
Sure.
So the ticket or the price is like nothing compared to what they're getting for it. Plus the time and me helping them kind of like realize their vision, which is really fun.
Hmm. Hmm.
And it's fun for me because I get to scratch a different itch that I didn't even realize I had, you know?
Yeah.
Like I just always, since I work with other freelance artists, everything that I do feels normal. It
Hmm.
feels like this is just how we do hair. But when you work with someone who works in a salon all day, they're amazing hairdressers, but what they do on a day to day is very different from me.
Yep.
So they'll come and they'll bring their work, and then I go, okay, that's cool. I remember doing that myself.
Hmm.
But in the last 20 years, these are some tips and tricks that I've picked up that can help you take this
Hmm.
to an editorial level, you know?
Totally.
So that's been really cool.
And that line, the line is getting blurred. The line between what
Yeah.
what walks out of a salon and editorial hair, since everybody's taking pictures,
Yeah.
everybody needs to know what makes a picture of hair look better.
Yeah.
So it's a skill that you should try to
It's
have
true.
even if you have no intentions of going to New York or becoming an editorial hairdresser. It's still
For
super
sure.
useful. Super useful.
Every salon should have a little corner where women are able either to do selfies or you can do pictures of the hair that you just did on them
Right.
because everyone's looking on your Instagrams now to get an idea of what your salon is doing,
Hmm.
you know?
Hmm.
And maybe the great thing too about maybe what we can do and like the classes that I give is helping you separate yourself from a sea of pictures of just wavy hair. You know what I mean? Like we can try other things, you know, because
Yeah.
it's all starting to blend. You know
Right.
what I mean? To like that is great, but that's also starting to become more of the same, but like separating yourself. You
Yep.
know what I mean? And we can show that a bit too. Which would be
Yeah.
cool.
It's fantastic. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah, I think definitely you are the type of guy who needs to be teaching this type of thing. This is
Thanks, man.
it's a great fit for you for sure. Um,
Thanks.
and we're looking forward to developing some stuff with you here in the near future. And it
Yeah, I
seems
would love it.
when this stuff lifts, we'll have you down to Dallas
Yeah.
to do some
Yeah, I'm down.
Texas
I love
hair.
Dallas. I've been. Oh, I. Yeah, I actually taught a shoot me class, the Kevin Murphy shoot me class down there, and I ended up meeting with your brother and his wife for dinner.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think
That was really fun.
they're
They're
both
awesome.
watching right now. Yeah.
Yeah, give them.
Yeah.
Thanks. That was fun. They took me
Yeah.
out for barbecue. I loved it.
Oh man. Yeah, Texas is great.
Yeah.
Well, we definitely have a lot to talk about. Hopefully, a second interview here pretty soon. This is a pretty
Yeah.
fun thing to do. I
Yeah,
was
it is.
gonna open it up. If anybody has any questions for David, we can kind of tackle those now.
Yeah. Any questions? Go for it.
Yeah. And then we
Everyone's
got
like,
about
no, enough.
like we got enough information from this guy.
Yeah,
Um,
I think so.
but man, it's great to see you, and hopefully you can come out to LA soon. I know you're gonna come do a class out here.
Yeah, I know we were scheduled for one, but I'm based in New York. Someone was asking where I was based. Um, I am. I was scheduled for a class out in LA, and it was going to be our first location shooting class, like teaching people how to do
Nice.
location shoots.
Right.
But once all this happened, and it's funny, I was in Mexico when all of this really started to break out. What is this? When are your next editorial shoot classes? The next one was scheduled for, I think it was May or June, but we've postponed that because of COVID-19 and until that lifts. Once that lifts, then we'll do a new schedule, I think, and we'll see what the interest in. But we were thinking about doing it in Southern California,
Mm.
you know, either Santa Monica or Malibu, because we were looking for kind of a beach situation, you know.
Right.
Yeah. Do you allow people to come out and shadow you for the day? I do, but you not so much shadow as work for me.
You're going with it.
But yes, if you want to DM me, but hang on, what is this thing? Was there a time when you worked both salon and editorial? What made you choose editorial? That's a good question.
Yeah, and actually
The,
take your time with these. We got some minutes, so take your time if
okay,
you need to finish a answer,
yeah.
We can scroll back.
Um, so there was a time early in my career when I first started to do. It wasn't even that I was doing editorial, but it was when I was assisting Orlando, and I was still working in the salon at the same time. And that was very difficult because At first, the people in the salon loved it because I was doing something that was so glamorous, and I was, doing, couture in Paris, and they loved all that stuff. But after a while, they were a little annoyed that I wasn't always available because sometimes I would drop out last minute and have to cancel and reschedule and do, you know, go do a shoot or whatever, or go do something. And it wasn't like I didn't appreciate my clients, because obviously I totally did, and I knew that, I value their time. But at the same time, if you get a call last minute that's like, "Hey, can you come assist on the Versace campaign tomorrow?" You're not going to say no. You're
Hmm.
going to say yes,
Yeah.
So I was doing that stuff a lot, and eventually I was forced into making the choice because I found myself in the position where I was doing a disservice to both. I couldn't have my foot in both camps for too long. And I'm not, and I think it's different now, like, because it would be my schedule and they would be my shoots, that I could maybe work in the salon again. I mean, or maybe open something or whatever, but I just don't, at the moment, that doesn't really interest me. I like what I do. You know what I mean? I'm enjoying it. If I feel like I'd like to do a salon later, I don't have a problem with that. But my initial choice between editorial and salon was just, I was forced, really,
Hmm.
into it, but I made the choice that looked like the most fun, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
It was, I don't know, it turned out to be a great choice. It turned out to be fine, but I was in my 20s, and, I was traveling all over Europe doing fashion shows. That was not a terrible way to make a living.
It's terrible.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
But
that definitely makes me think we need a part two of this interview. Um,
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
we
I got
should.
a lot more stories, and they're
Yeah.
all dumb.
Okay, good. We're all about dumb stories. I'm all about dumb
Oh,
stories.
I do know Quentin. Yeah, he's a very nice guy. I worked with
Mhm.
his girlfriend. I think she's a stylist.
We're
You
actually
made the right choice. You're amazing. Thank you.
we're interviewing her, Bianca, on Thursday.
Oh, no
And
way. Hi,
yeah,
Bianca.
yeah, she's going to be the first colorist I've ever interviewed. I'm really nervous.
Oh, that's cool.
But
That's cool.
David, it was incredible to see you. Let's hang
Thanks,
out
man. Thanks for
soon.
having me. Yeah, for sure.
Stay safe and COVID free.
You too, man. This is
You
so
look
crazy.
super COVID free.
I
So
feel COVID free.
yeah,
So
good.
you
That's really
too.
good. Oh, thank you.
You too. Thanks. You like my little setup? This
Yeah,
is a
it's
real
perfect.
library. This isn't fake. These are my books.
Those are not fake books.
They're not fake books.
Awesome, man.
Oh man. Thanks,
Um,
dude.
I will talk to you soon. Any of those stories where you had those images you brought up, if you've got those images, throw them in your story so people can see them.
Oh wait,
Maybe
which ones? Oh, well, the
like,
stories that I was just talking about.
yeah, yeah,
Oh
yeah.
wow. Yeah,
Carrie
I'll look through
Russell,
and see
any
what
of
I've got.
those. Yeah. Anyway,
Oh
good
my
to see you, man.
goodness. All right, brother.
I'll see you
Take care.
soon.
Thanks for
Okay.
having me. It was fun.
Anytime. Bye, David.
Bye. Bye.